Republicans need just one more seat to clinch the House majority. But before they take control, some GOP members have made it very clear they don't want the party spending the first few months in power launching investigations into, for example, the Biden administration. Let's bring in Newt Gingrich, former Speaker of the House and a Fox News political analyst. Very good to see you, Mr. Speaker. Thanks for joining us. Where do you fall on this? What do you think when you hear some of these newly elected members of Congress, Republicans, saying, no, we shouldn't be focusing on that right now? We told voters our priorities were, for example, inflation.
Well, let me say, first of all, this will be the 8th time since 1916 that you've had a Congress with a majority in the 220 to 223 range. So it has been done before. In fact, Denny Hastert, as Republican Speaker, had one at 221 and one at 223. So I think Kevin McCarthy will have to figure out how to manage it. I would say it should be 90% and 10%. 10% of the time ought to be spent because the American people have a right to know about a lot of things. Where did COVID actually come from? Why was the public health such a total disaster in failing to handle it correctly? 1 million Americans died. We deserve to know why. Why has the Justice Department gone after parents for going to school board meetings? I mean, there are a number of things where the American public has the right to know. But 90% of the House Republican effort should be on developing positive solutions that will make life better for the American people, starting with energy independence to bring down the cost of gasoline and strengthen us in the international arena, and cutting spending in order to bring down the inflation rate. And I think Kevin McCarthy's idea that the very first vote should be to repeal the 87,000 Internal Revenue Service agents is symbolically a pretty good start. It both cuts spending and it sends a signal that we're not going to harass the American people. We're going to try to protect them.
Interesting. So 90-10 split is what you say would be a best case scenario with the new Congress. We have had on this program two newly elected members of Congress, Republicans. This is Rep-elect Higgins. She was on the program Friday, and Rep-elect Santos, who was on the program yesterday, both threw cold water on moving forward with these investigations in the new Congress. Listen.
My constituents didn't send me here to waste time. They sent me here to work. Although there's if parts of our party want to go into these investigations, that's their prerogative. I'm here to deliver results.
What I'm focused on are the issues that why we won. Why we won in this district was because of the economy, because we really sought to tell people, hey, we're going to help you. We're going to be able to put more money in your pocketbook and lower those gas and grocery prices. And that's where my focus is.
Granted, that's a small sampling, Mr. Speaker, but what does that tell you about what we're about to see from this new Congress, obviously awaiting Republicans to actually win the majority with that seat?
Look, I mean, I hope most of the members come back with exactly that attitude in mind. That's why I said 90% of the effort ought to be going into solving real problems. For example, making sure that parents' rights to know what happens in their child's school is protected, making sure that we know about district attorneys who refuse to enforce the law and keep putting back criminals and murderers back on the street. I mean, there are a number of things where we can move forward with very positive legislation and then force the Democrats in the Senate and in the White House to decide, do they want to do what the American people are asking for, or in fact, do they want to block it, which would set up a 2024 election. But at the same time, you've got a lot of members. So, and members can spend 70 or 80 or 90% of their time passing positive legislation and still have enough time and energy and staff support to do the necessary investigations. How can the border be as open as it is? It's something we ought to know. I think there are a whole series of these kind of things. How come fentanyl is such a gigantic crisis? You know, over 100,000 Americans a year are dying due to overdoses. That's twice the total loss of the Vietnam War in 1 year. What do we need to do to have the kind of breakthroughs that let us protect our children and our young people from those kind of deaths that are totally unnecessary? I mean, there are a number of places where we don't actually know enough. And I think part of the purpose of hearings is to learn to set the stage, to educate the American people, and then to move legislation.
I suppose a lot of that depends on who will be in leadership. And right now, we're waiting to see. Will that be Kevin McCarthy? What's going to happen with Mitch McConnell? There's big questions literally at this hour. We're waiting to get word from Capitol Hill on the latest from Chad Pergram there.
Well, I'm pretty sure it's going to be Kevin McCarthy, and I'm pretty sure he's going to be Speaker. I don't know the Senate as well, and there seems to be a lot more anger in the Senate. But Kevin McCarthy went out and raised $480 million. He campaigned in virtually every district. He recruited a new generation, two of whom you just had a video with. And I think that for two elections in a row, no matter what happened to the rest of the party, the House Republican Party with Kevin as leader has gained seats twice now. And they're going to be in a majority despite the Senate not being. They're going to be in a majority despite the governors having lost a seat. And I think that speaks well of what Kevin was able to accomplish. Not as much as he wanted to, not as much, frankly, as I thought he would. And that's worth exploring and understanding before the next election. But I'm pretty confident that he will be the next Speaker.
Really interesting stuff. Really glad to have you on today, Mr. Speaker. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
All right, John.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily Campagno. Catch me and my co-hosts Harris Faulkner and Kaylee McEnany on Outnumbered every weekday at 12 p.m. Eastern, or set your DVR. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page for daily highlights.